Okay, and I'll just start the screen sharing as well. So let me know if my screen is visible to you.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so yeah, so today is our, I guess, 14th class,
No,
and
13, 13, 13.
no, 13th actually we took on the last class that we did. So that was the 13th class where we revised everything, and also we were
Okay,
going through the test cases, how to do the write the
okay.
test cases and all. Yeah, so that was the 13th class, because they didn't put any PPT, but we had gone through on how to write the test cases and all. So we did some revision and did that.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so this is the 14th class, and I guess from today we are going to move to API or web services testing. So before we start, we need to understand what are these APIs or what are these web services, right? Because those details are not given here. So I just thought that first we should understand what is API, and then we should move to the testing part of this APIs or web services. Okay, so what is API? Let's understand, or let's try to understand it with an example. So suppose when we visit any restaurant, okay, so what we do, so we go to the restaurant, we sit on the table, and then the waiter comes to us. So when the waiter comes to us, we give our order, right? What are the menus that we want to choose? We give our order. Now the what does the waiter do? Waiter will go to the kitchen of that restaurant, and he will ask the cook to prepare those order or prepare those food. Now when the food is prepared, what he will do, he will bring that food from the kitchen to our table, right? And then we'll have our lunch or dinner. So this is the same way how the API works in internet. Okay, so I'll just share image with you. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So see, we are the customer. We go to the restaurant and we sit on the table. Now we'll make the order. So the waiter will come and take the order. He will take the order to the chef. Now when the chef prepares the order, he'll bring that order from the kitchen and he will deliver it to the customer. So similarly, the full form of this API is an application programming interface. Okay.
Can
So
you repeat
what
it?
application programming interface?
Interface.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are the client or we are the customer, and how do we access this the things that we use? So either we have some browser, it may be from the mobile devices, or it could be the desktop browser. It could be Chrome, Firefox, or say any other Safari browser or any browsers. Or else what it could be, it could be some mobile applications as well, right? We use different apps from our Android devices or our iOS devices, our iPhones and all. So it could be anything. It could be some mobile applications, or it could be some browsers or desktop based browsers, or even the mobile browsers as well. So from the mobile browsers, whenever we type say amazon.com, so what does it happen in the backend? In the backend, we have a server of Amazon, right? Where they have stored all their HTML pages, or the databases are there, where all the details are there. But these APIs are the things which connect us with those servers. Okay. So what does that mean? So suppose you want to see what are the you know products that are available. So those are saved in the backend, or those are stored in the server side of the Amazon.com. Now, when from the browser you are clicking on a button, or say you are saying that I want to see what are the laptops that are available in Amazon.com. So this is the API which will go back to the server, and it will ask the server, okay, give me the list of the servers which are, give me the list of the laptops that you are having. So it will give the list of the, the devices that are available. It will give the list of the, say, laptops which are available to the server, and it will bring back that data to your browser, and it will give the data as a response to your browser. Now the browser will process that data and it will show you in the application. So that's how it works in the request and the response model. So you will request for some data, the API will take that request to the server, and it will bring back the response to you, and it will provide the response to your browser or say your mobile application, and then it will display the data accordingly to you. So that is how the API works. Is it clear? Do you have any query?
No, no, I understand.
Okay, okay. So this is why it is called application programming interface, because what is the interface? So the interface is basically whatever you are seeing whenever you are launching the Amazon.com, you are seeing the website of Amazon, right? So that is the user interface. So that is called the front end of an application. Okay. And what is the back end? Back end is the server and all, where the data is actually stored. So what APIs will do, this will connect this front end with the back end. So from the front end, whatever you are requesting, it will take that request to the server, and it will get the response from the server, and it will bring the response to you. So it could be different applications the Amazon.com is having, the desktop, from the desktop browser you can access it. It is having the mobile applications as well. So from anywhere you can access it. It is the APIs which will work in between the servers and the front end or the UI part of the application. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's go back to our slide. Okay. So today's objectives are basically we are going to see what are the different type of web services or APIs. There are mainly two types of APIs like SOAP and REST. So we are going to see the difference between them. Then we are going to see the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. Then what are the different API testing tools are available? We are going to look into that. Then we are going to see the API testing process. What are the REST services, the RESTful web services, different methods which are available in HTTP. Then we are going to see what is the difference between URI and URL, and we'll see some example demo as well. Okay. So the first thing is we need to understand what is WSDL and what is UDDI. So this is not very much important. We'll just see the basic thing or the example of it, and we'll move on. So WSDL is the Web Services Description Language. So this is a XML based language that describes web services and how to access and locate them. So what is this XML based language? Just hold on, we'll see into that in our next slides. So this WSDL is Web Services Description Language, and this will give you some XML based language which will describe how the web services are written and how can you access and locate them. So will see into this when we will be talking about the SOAP APIs. So at that time we will see how this WSDL actually works. Okay. Now what is UDDI? So UDDI is basically Universal Description, Discovery and Integration. Okay, so this is a open source and internet-based specification which offers directory services for storing information about web services. So there will be multiple web services for an application. So this provides the specification that how you can store all those web services uh, uh, and the information about those web services in internet, and how, like, how it will also provide the directory service. Because whenever you are suppose typing amazon.com and hit enter, so now it has to find, right, where those web services are located, how to get those calls to the web services. So this is provided by UDDI, which is Universal Description Discovery and Integration. Okay, so this WSDL, this is actually works for the SOAP APIs, and how that works. So we'll look into it in our next slides. So, so see, this is us. This is the client, or whenever, which is client. Client is basically we, whenever we are using the browsers or say any mobile application. So that works as a client. Now what we'll do, if we will you know call those web services whenever we are typing the amazon.com, or say we are searching for any product there. So that time it, the web services or those APIs are getting called. Okay, so what it will do, it will go to the UDDI and it will find which web service we are actually trying to call. So this UDDI will have multiple WSDLs, because these WSDLs are basically having those web service details and all. So and UDDI will have multiple web services. So this is web service definition language. So there will be multi, because this provides a directory service. This UDDI provides the directory service. So this will have, say, the WSDL of Amazon.com. It will have the WSDL of say Flipkart. It will have the WSDL for say other e-commerce website. It will have the WSDL for other websites as well. So whenever you are writing Amazon.com and clicking on enter, it will go to UDDI first, and UDDI will give, okay, this is the WSDL which will work for Amazon.com. Okay, so when you get that, so you take that WSDL and you will go to the server of Amazon.com. Now when you go to the Amazon.com server, it will actually provide you the response from the server. Now it will come back to this WSDL and then it will come to you as the response. So that's how the request and response works. Any question?
Yeah, I have a question. This arrow shows server as well as it goes to WSDL.
Mm-hmm.
The request goes to server WSDL. Can you explain that part?
Yes, so whatever is displayed here, that is basically being shown here. So the client will send the request and from the server you will get the response. So this is happening through API. How this is happening? This is happening in this way. So the client is sending the request, it's going to the UDDI. Now the UDDI is telling you that, okay, you need to use this WSDL. This WSDL is dedicated to Amazon.com server. Okay, so using that, your response will, your request will go to the Amazon server, and from the Amazon server you will get the response back to your client or your browser or your application.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
so this is the same thing that is being displayed here. So first what will happen, the service provider, which is the service provider, say Amazon. Amazon is the service provider, they are having the servers, right? Flipkart. So any application will actually publish their APIs or application programming interfaces or web services into UDDI, which is a directory service, right? So this UDDI will have all those service details. So this registry, in this registry, they will have all the details of those WSDLs. Okay. So now what will happen? You are the customer or client, so you will search for those web services. So whenever you are, so that will happen without your information, you won't know, but this is happen in the back end. Okay, so
Mhm.
whenever you type say google.com, or say whenever you type amazon.com, So it will actually search for the web services in UDDI, which provides a directory service. Now,
Mhm.
from the UDDI, it will give you the URL from registry. So the actual URL, so that will have the IP details and all. We don't need to go to that, that level of details, but it will provide the URL and it will provide the web service details as well. That okay, this web service is dedicated for Amazon.com, or this web service is dedicated for Google.com, which is published by the service provider. Now
Mhm.
you'll get that particular WSDL details. Now when you get those WSDL, you will request to the service provider with the same WSDL. Okay. Now the service
Mhm.
provider will get your request and it will process that and it will give you the response. So when you get the response, this WSDL will provide you that response through this SOAP. So in case of SOAP, we use the WSDL. In case of REST, there are different methods which we'll use. So that's how this web services actually work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as we mentioned that there are basically two type of web services. One is SOAP and another is REST. So SOAP means simple object access protocol and REST means representational state transfer. You don't need to actually remember the full forms and all. Those are not that important, but if it's good if you can remember. Okay. So what is SOAP? SOAP is simple object access protocol. Okay. So this is the one of the say oldest protocol, and it is a lot older than REST is a comparatively new technology. SOAP has been in the industry for quite a lot of time. So one thing that is very important, which you might get asked if they are taking you for web services testing or API testing. I'm not sure that you will be in the initial phase you will be getting the chance to work on the API testing, because this comes later with some experience. But prior to that, I guess you will be deployed into a project where you will be basically doing the initial level of testing of some web application, because this is the web service testing is a bit advanced. So when you are comfortable with the the testing of the applications, you are comfortable with writing the test cases and all, so then you might be moving to this web services testing. But as part of this whole course, we will try to understand, or we'll try to gather the knowledge of how this web service testing is done. So as part of that, you need to also understand the difference. So this is something which is important from the interview perspective. So if we are giving the interview of specifically to this web service testing, then they might ask you the difference of SOAP and REST. So this SOAP is heavier uh, side, and REST is comparatively lighter. Okay. So in SOAP, we basically use the XML type. So how we do use those, we'll see that in the course of the next slides. So SOAP will basically use the XML format, whereas REST can use both XML and JSON format. Okay. So the main idea behind designing the SOAP was to ensure the programs built on different platform and programming language could exchange data in an easy manner. So as I mentioned, right, that there could be a different type of the web application. It could be, say, there could be the mobile applications. There could be the web application. There we can access the application through browsers, but the result that we are getting, the response that we are getting the same response, right? If you are searching for a specific mobile from your browser in amazon.com, whatever response or whatever result you are getting, the same result you are going to get when you are searching the same thing from your mobile application, because the APIs which are working in between, those are same. So whatever search result they are giving when you are searching it from your web application, the same search result it will give when you are searching it from your mobile application or desktop browser, or say mobile browser, because the APIs are same and they are working independent of the platform from where the application you are using. Right. So that's why it provides, it works, or it provides the platform to which works in between the interface, the UI, the user interface, and the backend or the server. Now, what is REST? So REST is comparatively new in the industry, and it will actually give you the objects as a JSON file. Okay, so what is JSON? We'll see later. So any web service that is defined on the principle of REST can be called as RESTful web services, and SOAP is basically stateful, REST is stateless. So you won't be understand, you won't be able to understand the terminologies here, because that requires some deeper knowledge of the programming and all. But other than that, you can understand the SOAP is on a lighter side, SOAP is on a heavier side, REST is on a lighter side. And in the REST, we can use the methods like get, post, put, and delete. These are the common methods which are used in REST. So what is the difference between these different methods? We'll see in the next slide. So in both the cases, like it works in the similar way. The only difference is, in case of SOAP, we use this XML request. Okay, so from the client, this XML request will be sent to the server. So in between, the SOAP web service is working. So from the client to this server, this web service is sending this XML request from your client to the server. Now this XML request, it will be it will be basically uh, seen, or it will be verified, that whatever request you are sending, it will be verified. After that, the proper method will be invoked, then the result set will be created, and then this result will be sent through XML response to the client. So this is how the SOAP works. Now, in case of REST, we have different HTTP methods. What are those HTTP methods? Some common methods are like get, put, post, delete. There is patch method as well. So using those methods, this through this HTTP calls, the request will be sent. Now this request parameters will be processed. After that, proper method will be invoked. The result will be created, and then the response will be sent through this. So this could be XML or JSON. Okay, so based on the application, it is either XML data or JSON data, and then it will be sent to the client. So now we need to understand the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. So I'll just show you with an example. So say I am writing amazon.com. Okay, and I click on enter. Okay, so the first thing what you can see here, you're getting this lock sign, right?
Mhm.
Okay, and the next thing is, if you click here and if you copy it and say paste it on a notepad. So see what are you getting? You are getting
Mhm.
HTTPS, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. So now let's get back to the slide. Okay. So what is HTTP and what is HTTPS? So whenever we are, trying to access any particular website, okay, so there will be some calls through the network, right? So this is my laptop. From this laptop, the call is going through the network to the Amazon server. It could, in between there could be some APIs and all. So if you keep that aside, so basically there is a server, and there, here is my laptop. So from this laptop to the Amazon server, some calls are going as the request, and then the responses are coming,
Mhm.
right? So that happens through this HTTP or HTTPS. So HTTP stands for the hypertext transfer protocol. HTTPS stands for hypertext transfer protocol secure. Okay. So now when this HTTP use, that means the data is not secure. The calls, the data which is flowing from through the network from your laptop to the server, and from the server to your system, so that is not secure. But HTTPS means whatever calls are happening, whatever network, the data is flowing through the network, that is secured. Okay. So you can see in this diagram. So suppose you are trying to log into your Google account, or say you are trying to log in into your Amazon account. So you are going to the Amazon account, you are providing your username and password. So when you use HTTP, it won't actually encrypt anything, and it will send that data through the network. Okay. So now if there is any hacker in between, which is, residing in between the network, and if he hacks that data, so he'll get your username and password, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's why HTTP is not secured. Okay. So at its most basic, it allows for the communication between different systems. It's most commonly used to transfer data from a web server to a browser in order to allow users to view web pages. It's the protocol that was used for basically all early websites. Now what is HTTPS? HTTPS is, whenever, say this is you are sending the data. So whenever you are sending the data, your username, your password, all those things will be encrypted. So now if your password is ABC123, it will encrypt that data through some. So there are different encryption mechanism. So using those mechanism, this password will be encrypted. Now if there is hacker which is, residing in between, if he hacks the data from the network, what he will get some random data, say XYZ, ABC, and something else. So he is not able to get the actual password which you are sending, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
whenever you are sending from your browser, it will be encrypted, and there will be some encryption key. So those encryption key will, the server will have that. Now when the data reaches the server, using that same encryption key, the server will decrypt your data. So this is
Mhm.
something that I am telling you, which happens in the backend. So the server will actually decrypt the data using the same key, so that it will get the actual password, your password, and then it will validate that whether the password is correct or not. So if the password is correct, it will provide the response, and then the response will be sent to you. Okay.
Mhm.
So this is the main difference between HTTP and HTTPS. So you can see here, the problem with the regular HTTP protocol is that the information that flows from the server to browser is not encrypted, which means it can be easily stolen. HTTPS protocols remedy this by using an SSL, which is secured socket layer certificate. So this is the certificate which actually encrypts the data, which helps create a secure encrypted connection between the server and the browser, thereby protecting potentially sensitive information from being stolen as it's transferred from the server and the browser. So whichever website, if they are using the HTTPS and SSL, you will get that lock sign there. So any website which is not having this lock sign, that means they are not providing encryption and they are not using the SSL. And in that case, you can see that um, it will it will not be using HTTPS. It will actually be using HTTP. So see in this Janbas training as well, this is using HTTPS. That means whatever communication that is happening between your client and the server, so that is happening through a secure channel. That is happening through a secure channel, and that's why this lock sign is there. And if you even click on this lock sign, you will see connection is secure. Okay. Now say if I search with some HTTP website. So this is an website which is not secured.
Yeah.
So see what it's showing. It's showing not secure, right? If you click here, your connection to this site is not secure, right?
Yeah.
And if you click here as well, you'll see it's not coming as HTTPS,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So this is the basic difference in between HTTP and HTTPS.
Mhm.
Okay, so in case of HTTP connection, there is no encryption and so there is no SSL. So data is not encrypted and can be read by third parties. So this is the server and this is the visitor or the customer or the the it could be the web browsers or it could be the mobile applications or anything. So whenever the communication is happening through the network, you see all the passwords, the credit card data, the user data, your personal data, all those are not secured here because there is no encryption that is being happening in between this communication. But in case of HTTPS connection, it uses the SSL, or there is some modern technology right now which is called TLS. Okay, which is the TLS is basically transfer level security. I guess I'm right. Let's just check. Transport layer security. So TLS is called as transport layer security. So this is a more advanced version of SSL. Okay, and TLS is also used in HTTPS nowadays. So rather using SSL, they are using TLS because TLS is more secured. It is secured. It is more secured than SSL. So in case of SSL or TLS, they use some 256-bit encryption where any data that is communicating in between the website server and the client, that is secured and that is encrypted. So if there is any hacker which is trying to steal the data from the network, so they will get the encrypted data and it won't be possible for them to decrypt the data from those encrypted version. Okay, so that's why it makes your data more secured.
Mhm.
Any question?
No.
Okay. So now the web services or the API testing tools. So there are different API testing tools which are available in the market. Most common tools are SOAP UI and Postman. Okay, but apart from that, there are other tools as well like Catalan or Assertable, APIG, then JMeter, Rest Assured, Tricentis, Karate. So these are the different tools which are available in the market. Some of these are used for the automation testing as well. Like using the automation testing, you can also test this APIs like this REST assured, or through this Apache JMeter as well. You can automate the API testing. Uh, Most common tools to use the APIs are SOAP UI and Postman. So using the SOAP UI, you can test only the SOAP APIs, but using Postman, you can test both SOAP and REST based APIs. Okay.
Mhm.
So we are going to see how this SOAP UI and this Postman works in the upcoming sessions.
Mhm.
Okay, so how do we test the APIs, or how do we test these web services? So the first thing is it's almost like similar to the conventional testing of web applications or any other application that we have seen. So at first we need to write the test cases. We need to prepare the test cases. So that's why the test case development is written. So in the test case development phase, you can either test it manually, or you can write your automation test cases to test the APIs. So if you are doing the testing manually, so in that case you will write your functional test cases, your manual test cases for API testing. If you are doing the automation testing, in that case you need to write the automation scripts for the testing of those APIs. After that, you need to do the test execution and reporting. So you'll execute those test cases. Now this API specification review will be done. So that is basically documentation of the different use cases and reviewing the API specification on and all. Then the test specification development. Here the document details of the test condition and expected results for each test case, so those will be documented. And that in case of if you are using the automation, so there will be a framework which has to be developed, right? So if you are using, say, so in case of functional testing as well, in SOAP UI or using the Postman, so there are some different things which you can set up, and then you can start writing your test scripts there or test cases there. So it starts from here. First you need to read the API specifications. So those will be provided to you, how those APIs will work, which API will work where. So all those details you will get in the API specification. After that, from those API specification, so this API specification is basically similar to the requirement specification that we were having in case of the uh, traditional testing. So this API specification is similar to the requirement specification. After that, you need to prepare your test specification. After that, you need to prepare your test framework. Then you will write your test cases, and then the test execution will happen. Okay.
Mhm.
So first, we'll be looking at the different REST services. Okay. So what are these REST services? So this REST services, as we had already seen, that REST is representational state transfer. Okay, so a service represents a resource that can be accessed from the web. So each service, or this web services are having different services, right? So this service,
Mhm.
each service will actually give you some resources. So those resources, where are those resources stored? Those resources are stored in the server. So each service will actually work to bring those resources from the server to the browser or application from where it can be the web browser, it can be the mobile application, wherever you are trying to access those requests. So this service will provide you uh, s- um, those resources. Now commonly makes use of different HTTP request methods to implement CRUD methods. What is this CRUD? So CRUD is create, update, delete. So whenever you do anything in the web, what are you doing? You are basically either creating something, or you are updating something, or you are deleting something. So for these purposes, we are having different HTTP methods which will actually do the things in the backend. So what are those different things? These are mainly these four methods, but apart from these four methods, we are having some other methods as well. The first is the get. Okay. So whenever say you are writing amazon.com, right, in the browser, so what is happening? You're seeing the amazon.com site, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's going to the server and it's bringing all those data from the server to your browser. So basically you are requesting, or your a get method is called, right, which is going to the server, and it's giving you all the data and it's shown on your browser, right?
Mm-hmm.
So get is basically used to retrieve the resource. So all those data are already stored in the backend or in the server of amazon.com. You are just typing amazon.com, you are hitting enter, so you are requesting for those resources, right? And this get method will bring all those resource to you. So it is used to retrieve the resource, whatever is there in the server. To retrieve those, the get method is used, right? Now what
Mm-hmm.
is post method? So post method will be used, say there is a form, right? There is a registration form, and now you fill up the registration form and you click on submit. So whenever you are clicking on submit, all the data that you are filling in the form, that has to be stored in the server, right?
Yes.
So to store the data in the server, that means it's creating a new resource. That
Mm-hmm.
data was not there in the server. And now as you are filling the form and you are submitting the form, that means it will create those or save those data in the server, right? So at that time, this post method will be used. So whenever you are trying to create some new resource, this post method will be used. Now,
Mm-hmm.
suppose you are having your data in the server, right? But your phone number has got changed, or you have moved to a new location and you need to update your new phone number or your new address. But the data is already there. So now you won't be creating your data set there, you won't be creating new resources there, rather you will be updating your resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to update those resources, the put method is used. Okay. And finally, the delete method is used to delete the resources. Suppose, you're deleting your account, right? We can delete our accounts. So whenever you are deleting your account, this delete method will be called. Apart from that, there is another method called patch method is also there. Okay. So you might be asked, it is good to know the difference between this post method, this put method, and the patch method. Okay, so I am not sure whether that is given here or not, but it's something which is good to know. Okay, so what is this post method? The difference between this post method, the put method, and the patch method. So post method, what will it will do? It will create the new resource, right?
Mhm.
Now what put will do? Put will first see whether the data is there or not in the server, right? So if the data is already there, it will update the required fields. Okay.
Mhm.
If the data is not there, it will create the data and it will update the data.
Mhm.
So how these things happen, I know you are getting a bit confused, but we'll see in the next sessions. Now what patch will do, and so what put will do, if the data is not there, it will create the data and it will update the data. But in case of patch, if the data is not there, it won't do anything. Did
Mhm.
you get it?
Yeah.
So let's see here. Mm, okay. So you can see put is a method. So this data or these details are not given in the in the slides, but it is very important, to know this. So that's why I'm showing this additionally. So what is this put request? So put, you don't go into this now, right? So this will come later. So put is a method of modifying resources where the client sends data that updates the entire resource. Put is similar to post in that it can create resources, but it does so when there is a defined URL wherein put replaces the entire resource if it exists, or creates new if it doesn't exist, right? So put
Mhm.
will actually replace the entire resource if it exists. I mean, you need to provide all your data, say your email ID, your first name, your last name, and say some link and all. So now what it will do, if it sees that okay, all this data are already present, but suppose this email ID was something else previously, now you are trying to update this email ID, so you are sending all this data to the server. Okay,
Mhm.
now it will replace whatever was earlier. So it will replace the earlier resource. And
Mhm.
if this resource was not present, say this ID and these things are not present earlier, but you are using the put method, in that case it will create this record. Okay, but what happens in case of patch? Uh, okay, unlike put request, patch does partial update. That is, fields that need to be updated by the client, only that field is updated without modifying the other field. Okay, so suppose you are sending first name, there is first name and email ID. Now, if you are sending this first name, it will only update the first name. It won't do anything with the email ID. So put is a method of modifying resource where the client sends data that updates the entire resource. Patch is a method of modifying resources where the client sends partial data that is to be updated without modifying the entire data. It won't modify the entire data. In a put request, the enclosed entity is considered to be a modified version of the resource stored on the origin server, and the client is requesting that the stored version be replaced. So whatever version is stored in the server, so entirely that will get updated. But with patch, however, the enclosed entity contains a set of instructions describing how a resource currently residing on the origin server should be modified to produce a new version. So it will just update a particular data out there. Okay, and the other things you don't need to understand. So the main difference is, if someone asks you that what is the difference between put and patch, just mention that put will actually update the entire resource if it exists. If it doesn't exist, then it will create the data. But in case of patch, it will only update the partial data, and if the data is not there, it won't do anything. It won't create the data. So that is the main difference between put and patch. Okay. Okay, so we are we need to see this different methods, URI and URL, and then we will look into that. Okay, let's take a small 5 minutes break now, and after that we'll look into these different methods in more detail. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, okay, so before we move on, I just wanted to show you how this actually works. Okay, so let me open google.com. Even before that, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is something from where we can trace the network calls. Okay, so what is going and what is coming in the network, that we can trace from here. Okay, so if this is the network, so suppose I am hitting the enter now. Okay, so I am trying to search for google.com. So see, this is the request is going and the response is coming.
I
Okay,
don't see anything on the screen. Oh, yeah.
are you able to see now?
Yes.
Okay, so see, this is the google.com that we send the request for this google.com. So see, this request method is get. Are you getting it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the get method. Then there are some status code as well. So what is the status code? So that is part of the verifications that we need to do. So if I search for API request code, HTTP status codes. So see, there are different type of status codes which are available. Okay, so there is 1x, there are 2x codes, there are 3x codes, there are 4x code, and there are 5x code. So what is 1x code? 1x code are basically, it's the informational codes. 2x codes are basically success codes. So whenever, say, I'm trying to load now amazon.com, right, and hit
Mm-hmm.
enter, now you will see the request and responses for the amazon.coms are going. Once the page is loaded, you'll see the network calls here. Or say amazon.in. It's pretty slow. Let's try something else. Flipkart.com. Okay, so let it get loaded. Once it's loaded, I'll show you. Okay, so the thing that I was actually trying to show you is basically there are different status codes which we need to verify when we'll be verifying this APIs. Okay, so this 1x codes are basically 100, 101, 102, 103. So these are informational code. This is not very much required. These status codes are very much important. Like 200 is okay. So did you see, like whenever I was trying to
Yeah,
access
it was 200. Yeah.
google.com, so we are getting 200. So that means the request has succeeded. Okay,
Mhm.
201 is whenever you will try to create something, you will see 201 will be coming, 202, 203. So all these codes will come as like status code for success. Okay, so what are
Mhm.
this 3x success code? So 3x status code are basically whenever you are having some redirection, at that time you'll see this 300.
Is it
So
very important to know all this?
these are not very important, right? But this will be required when you will verify the APIs. So at that time, it will be given to you that if this happens, then you will get this 301 status code. Now, during testing, you need to test whether you are getting the 301, 401, 501, 200, 201 status code or not. But it's better at least to know that which series is used for which purpose. So this 1x series is used for informational purpose. This 2x series is used for success purpose. This 3x series is used for redirection purpose. This 4x series is used for client error, and this 5x series is used for server error. So at least
Mhm.
this is good if you can remember which series is for used for which purposes. I'm not sure why this is not loading. Let me just try it here. Mm, okay, I guess it will work here. Okay, so see, we are getting 200 because
Mhm.
we are getting the response here, right?
Mhm.
Now, I will just clear the calls and I will say search for laptop and hit enter.
Or 30.
So all this data are basically get calls. I will do one thing. I will sign out. Okay, I'll clear the data and I will click continue. So when I click continue, so see, as I clicked on continue, so at that time it's getting post call
302. Uh-huh.
and the status code is changed now. The status code
Mm.
is showing as 302. So what is 302? 302 is basically, if I go here,
Read that.
found, right?
Mm.
And I guess it has already logged into an account. Okay, now let's try something. Rest request. dot- Okay, it is request rest. Sorry, my mistake. This one I will send you so that you can go through it whenever you get some time.
What is it about? The codes?
So this is the status codes, all the status
Okay.
codes. Let's see, I'll give you some another example as well. I'll just, sign out and say I am checking it. Say I'm giving some random data here, which doesn't exist, right? And I
Mhm.
click on continue. So now if I see here, it
So
should give me
204.
this one. Actually they are validating from, okay, you will get it from here. Say if I give slash this.
So when you put something random,
Yes,
404.
so see, this
Yeah.
is giving 404, right?
Mhm.
So I'm just, I'm asking for something which is not there actually in
Yeah.
amazon.in. So at that time, it is giving me 404 error. Now what is
Mhm.
404 error? 404 error is not found because
Client error. Not
the
found.
resource that I'm trying to access, that is not present, right?
Mhm.
So that's why it is giving me 404.
Mhm.
So in this way, there are different status codes that are present. Okay. Suppose I'm trying to say search for this. This doesn't even exist. I'm not very sure why this is not loading because this is the important thing that I had to show you. Yeah, it has came now. Okay, so from here we are going to see the things. Okay, let's get back to our slide and Okay, so we had gone through the get, post, put, delete this method. Okay,
Mhm.
let's see now how this works. So we are the client or consumer, right? And we send this HTTP requests to the server. So this HTTP requests are sent through. So there are different things like URI, the headers, the payload. So all these things are sent through this HTTP request. This HTTP request has different methods. So there could be create, retrieve, update, delete. So for create, we use the put post call. For retrieve, we use the get call. For update, we use the put call. And for delete, we use the delete. So now this server will have a database with it, which will have all the data. And from there, it will send you the response. So in the response, you will have status code. If there is any payload, so it will have that. And then the string message of success. Okay.
Mhm.
So now let's go back to this website and see. So suppose we have a website. So this is something which is a dummy website. Okay. And from here, we can actually see how these things happen. Okay. So if I, which will be a good site to let's see, dummy registration site or API testing. So this is a form, right? And if I
Mhm.
see the network calls here, I will first load the page. So if I go to sign up, you get 304. Okay. Now I will try to fill up this form. I won't choose any file. I'll select null and say error 7. I have manual testing, automation testing, testing. Okay, I have Selenium. Now, as I'm trying to submit this form, so that means it will be a post call, right?
Mhm.
So I'm clicking on submit, showing registration done. Okay. Now if I see this one, why is it now? Okay. So this is not for API testing. Okay. So this actually won't be able to understand. That's why I was trying for something, but we don't have. Okay. So we'll see that later through this calls itself. Um, just enter the full screen mode. Okay, so whenever you're trying to create an account, so whenever you're trying to create a new resource, we need to use the post calls, right? So in the post call, whenever you are making that call, some data will be has to be given by you, right? This account
Mhm.
name, the address, the account type, whatever data that you are trying to save in the backend or in the database. So all those data will go through this post call. Now in the get call, what will happen? You need to give the URL just. So from that URL, it will bring the data and it will be displayed to you, right?
Mhm.
uh, what in case of update? In case of update, you need to give the put call, so it will either create or create plus update. Now here you need to give the account ID, the account name, address, or all the details same as previous. Now you want your account type to be updated, so it was savings first, now you are giving current. And also your address also you are trying to update from London to New York. And your name also, suppose something has changed, so you are changing your name. So this account ID is still same. So that's why this whole data will be replaced by this data.
Mhm.
And then when you are trying to delete, you will give the account ID, the account name, address, and account name. So it will delete your data from here.
Mhm.
So that's how this different methods will work. Okay. So now it's required to understand the URI and URL. Okay. So what is the URI and URL? So URI stands for Uniform Resource Identifier. Okay. So suppose the Amazon.com. So the Amazon.com, if you will see here, so when I'm launching Amazon, it will have only Amazon.in. Let me launch directly. See, this is Amazon.in. So this is the domain, right? This is the
Mhm.
domain. Now, apart from that, it will have different other resources as well, different other pages. So now if I try to sign in, just look what will change. So it is going to some other pages, and at the same time, this URL is changing, right? So see
Mhm.
amazon.in slash AP slash sign in. So this is what? This is URI. So this is going to different resources. It is going to AP and then sign in, right? So this is the
Mhm.
URI, Uniform Resource Identifier. So what is this resources? These resources are these different pages, and all these pages are stored as some HTML code in their database or in their backend. So this is going to this different path and getting the data from there, right? So
Mhm.
now if I give my say password and let me just uh, in this one as well, you click on sign in. You should get a sign in call here. Yeah. So see the request URL is now https colon this amazon.in slash ap slash sign in. Okay, so this is the request URL, and then there are some header data as well, the response header. So here you can see there are some header data as well. These are the request header and those are the response header. And at the same time, if you see here, there is something that is given after this question mark sign and some data are given here, right? So what
Mhm.
are this? These are the query string. So suppose your name, the value, all those details that you are giving. So those will be passed through this request parameter. So suppose I am searching for laptop, okay, and I am hitting enter. See here k equal to laptop. So this is basically query. So this is going through query parameter. Okay. So that's how the whole URL consists. The URL consists of the domain, the URI, and the query string. What is domain? The physical server where your website is hosted. So it is hosted on the Amazon website. So that's why this is uh, the domain is basically Amazon.in. Now what is the URI here? So URI is basically /s. If you have some other things, so see, when I'm going to deals page, it's changing to deals, right? So these are the different pages. If I go to Amazon Pay, so see, this is some other URI that is given to you. So that's how this URI will change according to the pages, the identifier which maps to files on your server. Okay, and the query string is part of a get request to easily pass in values to customize the output, right? So now say I am trying to go to my rewards. So it is in the rewards page, right? So now suppose what I can do. I want to join Prime. So whatever details that are being passed here, so that contains some data where I need to redirect, what is the reference. So all these things are going through query string. Okay. So this is how the URL is formed. So these are like at this point, it might seem a bit confusing to you, but you will understand this when you start working on a live project. So all these things will be actually given to you. You don't need to think that uh, these are the things that you need to create. No, you don't need to create all these things will be given to you. Like in this website, if you will see that for this get, this request is already given. So this is the URI and the uh, the query string parameter which is given to you. So accordingly you need to test. Now how will you test these things? This will see in the later classes. So when the user is not found, at that time you need to use this particular URI. Okay, so suppose we use, say, request rest.in slash, what is there, this one, slash API slash users slash 23, right? If I hit it, we don't get anything, right? Now suppose I want to get this user details. Okay, so API slash user slash 2. So when I put this, I get all the data here. I know this is not shown in a very good format because this is the JSON format. If I put it in a JSON formatter, put everything here, and it formats the data, and you can see the the user whose ID is 2, all his details are displayed here. So for that, see, this is the URI which is given to you. Now, if you go to this URI, this data is stored in the database, right? So this data will be given to you when you visit this URI. Now, So for this, suppose I want to see all the users, the list of the users. Okay. So for that, if I just copy this, go here and paste it, enter. So I made a mistake here, enter. So this is giving me all this data. Copy it here and paste it here. You see, these are the different, all the users which are present. So it is giving all those details of those users.
Mhm.
So similarly, if I come here, so all these different type of calls are given here. So for the get calls, what is the request? For the post call, what is the URI and what is the load that you need to, because whenever you are giving any post call or put call or patch call or delete call, at that time you need to give the, so this is called as the payload. Payload means the details that, so you are trying to submit a form, right? So there you need to provide all those details, your name, your email ID, your address, and all those details. Now when you are clicking on the submit button, all the details that you are providing, that will be sent through the http call, and all those details will be sent, and that will be called as payload. So if I go here, you will see something. See, this is the create an account post call, and this data is basically the payload. So this is the response payload, and this is the request payload. So whatever data that you are sending in your request, that is called request payload, and whatever data the server is providing to you, that is called response payload. Okay.
Mhm.
So whenever you're trying to, log in, and the server will give you a token, so that is called, this is the response payload, this is the request payload, this is the response payload, this is the request payload, this is the response payload. So how to test all these things, that we'll see in the upcoming sessions, because now we are just seeing it, and that's why it might not be, easy for you to understand. But in the next session, I guess what we are going to do is we will use some particular tool, maybe SOAP UI. So we need to, so in the next session, you need to install these tools. Okay. So you need to have, yeah. So the next session will be on SOAP UI. So we will download the SOAP UI from the internet, and we will install it. So you need to do that as well tomorrow. So there we will see how this WSDL will work, and how this payload are given, how we can store the data, create the data. So all these things we are going to see tomorrow.
You'll show me how to do it tomorrow.
Yes, yes, we are going to see it tomorrow.
Oh,
And then there is some other tool called Postman as well. So we are going to install that as well. So we are going to install both, like SOAP UI and Postman, and then we are going to see how this different calls work. So tomorrow, basically, we are going to see how the SOAP works. So we are going to install SOAP API, SOAP UI. I will just, ping you so that you can download it today, so that tomorrow you don't need to do all these things. So are you using the Mac system or Windows system?
Windows.
Windows, right? Okay. So this is the place from where you need to download the SOAP UI. If you go here, you'll get SOAP UI open source. Click, SOAP UI open source. Download SOAP UI open source. Okay, and it will start downloading. Just wait for some time. If the download doesn't start, you can always click here and the download will start. So this will get downloaded. And once it is downloaded, you need to install it. So anyways, you can just, download this file and keep it in your system. The rest we will see tomorrow. We'll install it and then we'll use some of this WSDL to see how this actually works and how we can get those data and test or verify those response code, the response body, the different methods. So all those things we are going to see tomorrow.
Okay.
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 Any questions from today's class?
It's okay. It's far too much for me.
Yeah, because this is
Far too
something
much.
whole new, and this will be a bit difficult for you initially to understand. But I think once you do the hands-on, say tomorrow or day after tomorrow, once you do the hands-on on the tool, you'll be understanding it in a better way. Okay.
Okay.
This is not something which is very hard, that I can assure you. This is not something which is very hard to understand, because all these things will be actually given to you. So it's not like you need to know or you need to remember what is the URL, what will be the query string parameter, what method I need to use. No, all these things will be already given to you. You need to just put it on the tool and then you need to test it. So that is something that you need to do. And the another thing is you need to do the verification. So suppose the mail ID, right? So you need to give a proper mail ID to store it. Now if you are giving some random mail ID, or if you are giving some random ID which doesn't even exist, at that time you'll get the response code which will be an error. So those are the different things that you need to do as part of testing. But
Mm,
all these request parameter, the response parameter, the payload on, and all these things, so this will be already given to you.
mm, okay.
Okay, so
Uh-huh.
that's what we had for today. If you don't have
Okay.
anything for today, I think what you can do is you can just go through the slide once again, and then if you have anything to ask, you can ask it tomorrow, and then we'll install the SOAP UI tomorrow, and we'll see how this actually works through the SOAP
Uh,
UI tool.
uh-huh. Thank you.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
thanks for joining. See you tomorrow. Have a
Uh-huh.
good night, and see you tomorrow. Bye.
Okay. You have a nice day. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.